On first listen, Come Dancing by the Kinks is a joyful, buoyant, nostalgic song with horns and a keyboard riff that harks back to the music you'd find in a dance hall in the 1950s.
It's only natural.
But if you look a bit deeper, you'll find that the song was actually inspired by a really tragic event in Ray Davies' life, the sudden death of his older sister. Ray channels this deeply sad memory into a song that speaks of nostalgia for a bygone era that also served as the Kinks' attempt to regain their Englishness and return to their musical roots after drifting away. So what's the full story on this 1983 hits for the Kinks? And if you love delving into music history like I do, make sure you subscribe and join our pack. First of all, when you think about it, it's quite incredible that the Kinks were able to score a hit as big as Come Dancing in the 80s. Most of the other big British rock bands from the 60s and 70s had all but faded away at this point, with synthesizers and electronic music barging their way into the scene. Come Dancing, however, is a testament to Ray Davies' adaptability as a songwriter. I mean, think about it. The same person who wrote guitar rock tunes like You Really Got Me and All Day and All of the Night later pumped out this whimsical, vaudevillian, horn-filled Come Dancing. Although, of course, just after the midway point in the song, they do seem to remember they're a rock band, and Dave Davies comes in with a really nice, almost hair metal riff that ties everything together. Come Dancing was released as the lead single from their 1983 album State of Confusion. Now, prior to releasing this album, the Kinks had basically become American arena superstars. In the 60s, although part of the British invasion, their luck of touring in the States wasn't great. They were banned by the American Federation of Musicians from touring in America in the mid-60s, and when they finally returned in 1969, that tour too was problematic. However, being allowed to tour in America again did inspire Ray Davies and his magical songwriting brain. By 1971, the Kinks had tapped directly into American music with the album Muswell Hillbillies, combining English roots with a country rock sound and American influences. And in 1973, Ray Davies went a bit theatrical with the release of the concept album Preservation Act 1. The Kinks had also added a horn section and female backing vocals, so they were less of a rock band at this point and more of a fully fledged theatrical ensemble. Unfortunately, the album didn't sell well, peaking at only 177 on the Billboard Top 200. Ray was also having serious marital problems and suffering from depression as well, which caused a lot of issues in the band. Preservation Act 2 also failed to find commercial success. However, in 1976, they signed with Arista Records, and they dropped the horn section and backing vocalists and stripped themselves back down to a 5-person band. And they were reborn as an arena rock band. Their releases over the next few years performed pretty well, and they toured in arenas extensively throughout the world and America. In 1981, they released the album Give the People What They Want, which again was a pretty successful album. To promote this album, the Kinks toured pretty much non-stop during 1981 and 1982, all culminating in a massive show in front of 205,000 people at a Californian music festival. It was during this time that Ray felt the band was losing touch with its roots and Englishness. 1983's Come Dancing was a direct attempt to remedy that. Come Dancing had been an idea in Ray's head for a while, but he finally decided to write it while on a flight home from Japan. He had just bought a brand new Casio keyboard and used that to write it. The song's lyrics speak of how they're building a car park, that's parking lot for American viewers, on the spot where the supermarket used to be. And before that, where the bowling alley used to be. And before that, where the local palais used to be. The day they knocked down the palais, my sister stood and cried. The day they knocked down the palais, part of my childhood died, just died. Ray Davies is really tapping into that nostalgia for a bygone musical era. He told Uncut Magazine in 2014, "I wanted to regain some of the warmth I thought we'd lost during those stadium tours. Come Dancing was an attempt to get back to roots about my sister's memories of dancing in the 50s. And it certainly achieves this, doesn't it? As mentioned, the music really harks back to earlier times. Rolling Stone magazine called the song delightfully nostalgic. And another article said that the song is basically the 1980s nostalgia for the 1950s. Plus, the accent that Ray sings with throughout the track is unapologetically British. It was one of our biggest singles, and it was about an East End spiv sung in a London voice. If anybody had lost any faith in us being real people, that record would restore it, Ray said. Arista Records weren't initially fans of the overly British tones of the song, though. Ray told Ultimate Classic Rock in 2013, "The record company actually asked me to sing it in more of an American accent. I just refused." Good show, old chap, good show. Now, this Englishness nearly had the record shelved for the US market. Arista's Clive Davis didn't want it released in the US. He didn't think the subject matter would relate to American audiences, and the fact that the single didn't perform well previously in the UK didn't help either. Davis was eventually convinced by the music video, which went on to receive heavy play by MTV. It reached number 6 in the US, tying it with Tired of Waiting for You for their highest performing single in the States. The song was then subsequently re-released in the UK to much better results. Now, as well as exploring a general sense of nostalgia and Englishness, there's also a very specific nostalgia for Ray in this song, memories of his older sister, Renee. The song was inspired by Renee and his other older sisters, he had 6 in total, who he would watch as young adults going out to dance halls with male suitors in the 1950s. Another Saturday, another date. She would be ready, but she's always make them wait. In the hallway, in anticipation, he didn't know the night would end up in frustration. He'd end up blowing all his wages for the week, all for a cuddle and a peck on the cheek. And Ray even writes about his mother waiting for Renee's return. "My sister should have come in at midnight, and my mum would always sit up and wait. It always ended up in a big row when my sister used to get home late." Now, Ray's sister Renee had a rheumatic fever as a child, which led to serious heart issues. She lived in Canada with her husband, who turned out to be awfully abusive, and she would return to London to visit her family about once a year. In 1957, her trip coincided with Ray's 13th birthday. Ray had been asking his parents relentlessly for a Spanish guitar. Renee, who was 37 at the time, stepped in and surprised him with one, his first ever guitar. A gesture that undoubtedly set Ray on the course for musical greatness. A gesture that arguably would change British rock history. On the very same day, Renee went out with her friends dancing, as she normally would when she visited London. That day they went to the Lyceum Ballroom, and there she very sadly passed away from a heart attack and died in the arms of a stranger. Davies told NPR in 2014, "So she bought me this not very expensive Spanish guitar and gave it to me on my birthday. We played a few songs, she played a song on the piano, and I tried to play with her, and she said she was going out now. And I watched my sister go out. It was a sunny afternoon. She walked down the road and my mother stood at the gate, and that was it. The next morning we got a call from the police." Ray wrote Come Dancing as a tribute to Renee, and in the final verse, Davies seems to imagine an alternative reality, one in which Renee didn't pass away. And now the role has been reversed. Renee is the one sitting up and waiting for her children. "My sister's married and she lives on an estate. Her daughters go out, now it's her turn to wait. She knows they get away with things she never could, but if I asked her, I wonder if she would. Come dancing." Now, many believe that after 1983's State of Confusion that the Kinks faded artistically, and Ray Davies said it best himself to Uncut magazine. If you look at the cover, everybody's going in different directions. The feuds between Mick and Dave had reached a final peak, and it was horrible to be on tour. We'd gone through massive hard work to get in stadiums, and success made us split up. Now, another song that has an incredibly tragic story behind it is Eric Clapton's Tears in Heaven. I've made an entire video about that as well. Click over there and watch that one next.